Hi, everybody. It's Jim Havlin, and you've probably now watched some of the videos for rocks in First OS or just as part of my regular practice. This is a small tutorial about how I use 90 to manage rocks, and some of the things that are in those videos are pointed out in how we implement those inside the software. So let's go look at the 90. So here you are in the rock section of 90. You can see all my tools on the left. And this is actually kind of a sample. This is part demo and part what's really going on inside the First OS universe on these days, January 2026. So you can see here, I've got a couple things I'm working on right now that are part of my rocks that are currently active. But let's go into the winter subscription model. This is a good example of how I tell my clients is a great way to get great at rocks. Ultimately, it takes a little while to get really good at the project planning and setting aside time for building and fixing. So you want to use everything you've got at your disposal to make sure you're making good progress on those things. So here you can see we've got a name for the rock that makes sense. Launching, so I know what the end game here is. I'm trying to launch the subscription service for First OS. You can see there's a couple parts. There's a date certain that we're going to end. That's at this point, April 25th. And once again, we'd like to keep all of our rocks that's for a team could be completed at the same time. And if you're looking like, hey, I'm on the leadership team, but I'm also running a department, those will be different dates, more than likely, but they're date certain, and the whole team is going to be resetting rocks to be lined up so they can all look at each other on that day and go, okay, did we get our stuff done? If not, why not? What got in the way? And as you're going through, as you learned in the other sections, you should be keeping track of that. And you've got ways of mitigating that in case things aren't going the way you wanted them to. All right. We also have this section for quarters, and this is like allowing you to line up not only this rock, but the next rock and the rock after that for basic planning. And there's this new section at this point, it's still in beta. By the time you watch this, maybe it'll be a live function, but you can see here, we've got rocks that are current, and then we have rocks that are laid out over the next couple of quarters. We also have long-term issues there. So this is for planning, especially for you individually, but using this as part of how you plan. It's a great way to think about how you're going to lay out your year, but also to kind of keep you under containment. So you're not like worried too much. When am I going to get to this thing? Oh, Q2. That's like that. So you can sequence things in a way that makes sense. So we have to, before we get to that newsletter launch, we really need to have the winter subscription service fixed up, and then we can actually start launching it as part of part of the newsletter. So that's the point of that. So let's go back. We're looking at this rock here. You can see here there's a description, and this is a place where I say, hey, remember, we document things for a purpose. The purpose is not for me to remember, although that helps quite a bit, but it's for everyone else as well. So this is part of our communication to the rest of the team, is what goes in that description. And also, in case you get abducted by aliens or win the lottery, you want that next person to be able to figure out what you're doing and try to make sense of it. So you can see I write an outcome statement here, right? So this is exactly what we're trying to get done in some detail. This is typically what we'll do in session. We'll write the outcome statement so that everyone has, at least at that moment, a shared understanding of what we're working on, and can ask questions about it. Is that really what done looks like? And you can kind of challenge each other. Are you sure that's as far as we need to go? Or can we maybe not go that far, plan to go less far? And these are things that might get in the way. Those are great conversations. That's why we're trying to have these conversations and get alignment across the team. And then I like to, and you don't have to do this, but I take a definition of SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, so on and so forth, and I actually paste it right into my rock. So as I'm going through and I'm trying to plan my milestones and make sure that I'm doing the right things and thinking about the right things, that it's actually right there. That like my thinking behind the rock is now inside the description. It's part of the long-term plan. And oh, by the way, I'm training the AI that's behind 90 about how I think about things and how I think what's important. And then it can be used later on to help make decisions and maybe replace me with a bot. I don't know. But certainly be able to help me build milestones later on. So all this context goes into that. And then I start taking notes. A lot of my clients like to put actually dated notes, week by week as they work on something, they'll put some notes in here to kind of keep like a journal for getting the rock done. This isn't one that's just been set, so it doesn't have any of that, but it's a great thing to do as well to keep everyone up to date on what we're thinking. And then even if we don't get this rock done, or we decide somewhere during the quarter that we need to put it off to a future quarter, all that content is in there so we can keep track of where we were. In case you want to assign it to somebody else, it's still there, right? Pretty handy stuff. And then you can come down here. You can see it's on multiple teams. It's on the First OS team and the leadership team for my practice. So it'll show up in both of those instances when I run those weekly meetings, to check in and see how I'm doing. And then you can see here I've got my milestones and a couple things there about rocks. These days when we look at the list of rocks, it actually says, how many milestones there are. You can see here I've got only 5 set up on my partner page one, but they're pretty big things, and I can knock those out, I think. But I got 9 here. I haven't even started on this rock. But, you can see down here, like, I can check these off. I've got dates against these things pretty much mapped out to the end of March. I do that so I've got plenty of time at when I'm done to make sure that I've got things to clean up, and there's gonna be new things that typically, I'm gonna find something else I wanna get done as part of this. It doesn't feel done, but this is about as far as I could go with, like, thinking about what's gonna be there. And you can see there are, inside of these, there are notes. Here's a document I've already created to help with this, and I have to, the number I have to cut to get there. So you can get a lot of documentation in here, and I have it set. You don't have to have it set this way, but I have it set to send me a reminder and to create a to-do for me every week with the things that are due that week. That way, they all flow to that part of the My 90 part of the software, and they can also map to my other productivity apps. At this point, we've got both Microsoft and Google, Todoist. There's a bunch of them that are actually already mapped so that if you really run your world based on one of those task management systems, you've got direct connectivity to all that. So that's basically what goes into my rock. So I've got all my stuff there. I can create attachments. I like to make sure it's linked. Quite often those link things might be an issue that you use to create the rock. If you're working with me in session, that's typically what will be connected there. So you've got all the context that you need to be successful here. And quite often, like the last milestone for a lot of people is, hey, I have to create some documents. Those are great ones to attach here. And then you should probably share them with other people and get feedback. That would be a typical thing that might happen on that. All right, so that's my little walk through 90. This is a great way to make sure your rocks are getting done and that you're doing a better and better job of getting them done. So good luck with that.